Hello, my name is Adewale Adeniji. I want to talk to you about our perception of reality. I am sure you have heard it said by people that what they experience currently is the present. What had happened before is the past, and what will happen tomorrow is the future. And I'm sure you already believe that yourself, and you live your life by that. How would you react if I told you that that is not a correct perception of reality? What if I told you that what you think was yesterday, what you accept as today, and what you reckon is tomorrow already exist at the same time? How would you feel? How would you react? I know that the first time I heard that, I was like, come on, it cannot be so. But it is actually true. Okay, so I would like to begin to explain to you what quantum physics has to do with our perception of reality, hoping that at the end of it, I should help you to begin to see how you can affect your perception of tomorrow, today. That is, make those things that already exist without you seeing them physically exist now when you need them, bringing, as it were, your future to your today. So, let me formally welcome you to what I call the future merging with the present. It surely will be a very good ride. Share this with family and friends. I am sure that this series portends a mind shift opportunity for as many as are interested in it. I know that I have been blown away, and I'm very sure that you would also be blown away. Okay, why don't we start from the beginning? Do you know how your actions are formed? The way you react to situation and issues, do you know how they come to manifest? Every action that you take is the end result of two stages. The stage that begins with your thoughts. Your thoughts will determine the emotions that you feel per time. And it is those emotions that translate into your action. So, it is a continuum of your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. So, for example, if you react angrily to what somebody had said or done, that angry reaction came about because of that emotion of displeasure. That emotion of displeasure could not have arisen if you had not thought about what that person said or did. So, it is your thoughts that leads to your emotions, that leads to the action that you take. That is the foundation for you to understand all I'm about to show you. Thought, emotion, action. A good place to begin will be to have a foundational understanding of the structure of a man's mind. A man's mind can be divided into basically two sections. The objective mind, or the conscious mind, and the subjective mind, or the subconscious mind. So basically, there are two segments to your mind, to my mind, to the mind of the next man. The objective and the subjective, that is, the conscious and the subconscious. I want you to see the objective or the conscious mind as your waking moment, when you are aware of what is going on in your mind, while you see the subjective or the subconscious mind as your sleeping moment. Your objective waking mind will be your surface person, who you are on the surface, that is your voluntary self. So your objective conscious mind is your waking moment, who you are on the surface, your voluntary self, whilst your subjective subconscious mind is your sleeping moment. Mind is segmented into two parts: the voluntary and the involuntary, the objective and the subjective, the conscious and the subconscious. The conscious is who you are at the surface level, your voluntary self. Your subconscious is who you are at a deeper level, your involuntary self. So we continue. I want you to look at your mind that I had described as segmented into two forms as a garden. The purpose of a garden is either to bring forth good food or what you cannot eat by way of tares or just any grass. But both for food, herbs, or for just anything, every garden that germinates has a seed planted. So I need you to see your mind as the garden, and for the seed that goes into that garden, I want you to picture your thoughts, the thoughts in your mind. Now, by talking of our thoughts, science has proven that you, me, the next man, has between 60,000 and 70,000 thoughts per day. Between 60 and 70,000 thoughts per day. So in that garden of our mind, the seed that we plant are our thoughts, as numerous as they are. So this seed, these between 60,000 and 70,000 thoughts, where do they come from? Where do our thoughts come from? Our thoughts come from our habitual thinking, what we receive from our environment, what we understand by what we see, by what we hear, and at times by what we say. In other words, our five senses, the collation, the harvesting of what our five senses gather, help us to formulate our thoughts. Whatever it is your thoughts dwell on, become the seed that goes in the garden of your mind. Now, one of the intractable laws of the universe is that what you plant is what you reap. For example, I have a garden in my house, and I have planted pomegranate, I have planted oranges, I have planted mango. When it is time for me to harvest from the orange tree, I can only harvest oranges, not pomegranates, not mangoes, even though in the same garden I have all these three planted. The same thing for the other trees, meaning if I allow my thoughts to be positive, the outcome or the harvest of that garden of my mind will be positive, and contrariwise. Therefore, in the garden of your mind, we need to begin to understand that our thinking, the seed that goes into our mind, are of paramount importance. Every time in your mind, in my mind, in the mind of the next person, there will always be a confluence of both positive and negative thoughts. To ensure that the predominant thoughts in my mind, in your mind, are those that will bring forth good harvest from the garden of our mind, is to dwell on positive thoughts. Whatever things are pure, whatever things are good, whatever things are of a good report, whatever things are edifying, these are the things that we should dwell on. When you feed on quote and unquote acceptable culture, your mind will not but be assailed by negative ideas and thoughts. So, how do we effectively ensure that the seeds that we sow in the garden of our mind are positive? One way to do this effectively is to control what goes into your thoughts. It is not possible, if you live in the society that we live in, for you not to be assailed by things positive and negative at the same time. But you need to create that level of sensitivity in you that the moment something negative comes in, you crush it. It has to be deliberate. It has to be something you have attuned your mind to be sensitive to. For example, if you are in a gathering and people confess negative things, something in you must react and say, no, that is not for me. This is what I believe in. This is what I accept. But if you keep quiet and you allow negative things to be dumped into your mind, those are the things you will dwell on. You have the creative force, the potential force within you to accept what it is you accept and to refuse what it is you do not want. Now, nobody, dear friend, nobody will be the gatekeeper of your mind like yourself, which is why you need to limit access to the media that you feed on. I tell you what, until you consciously decide that certain information is not for your consumption, your mind will be a constant battlefield. Trust me honestly. You cannot shut yourself away from the world, but you can screen your mind from the world. That is the way to do it. It has to be a positive attitude, instantaneous screening. You heard something that is not true, not loving, not of good report, not edifying, immediately you reject it. Immediately you react to it, quote and unquote, violently. You do not allow it to sit. You do not allow it to rest. You come after it. Why? Because your mind, my mind, the mind of every human being is a battlefield of contending thoughts, positive and negative. So we have a duty, a responsibility on what we are allowed to dwell in our hearts. You need to be the master of what dwells in your mind, so that your mind can be aligned with powerful and omnipotent laws that govern this universe. There are powerful and omnipotent laws of the universe that are immune to the faith you profess or the creed that you espouse. What that means is whatever faith it is you profess, whatever creed it is you espouse, those powerful, omnipotent laws will work for you as well as for the next person, regardless of faith and creed. They are non-discriminatory, so everyone that aligns with them will get the same result. They are gender neutral, they are faith neutral. That is why we call them powerful and omnipotent laws of the universe. They apply across board without favor. When you do become the master of your thoughts, what you are allowed to go and dwell in your mind, you are aligning with these powerful and omnipotent universal laws to create your world as you prefer it. Why is this so? Because it is the world within, in your mind, that determines the world without for you and your environment. I repeat that. It is the world within you, in your mind, that controls and determines what happens in your life around you. Therefore, if you dwell on positive thoughts, the things that I had told you that are good, noble, edifying, of good report, these are the things that will determine what begins to manifest in your life. Why? Because as you think within, so will you be without. Simple, powerful, omnipotent law of the universe. If you understand this, then I do not need to tell you that this now makes your thoughts the potential power, the atomic power that determines your life. As a man thinketh, so is he. As you think, so you become. When you therefore dwell on positive things of a truth, your life will manifest the things you want it to manifest. So what that means is that look around you, whatever it is that you have created around you has been as a result of what you created within you. For example, if you have been living a life filled with acrimony, nobody needs to tell you that there will be no peace around you. You have been living a life filled with joy, looking at life in the positive way. Nobody needs to tell you that around you there will be peace. What you have in here is what you have around you. Powerful, omnipotent law of the universe. Going back to that analogy of your mind as a garden, if in the first year of planting, the harvest you got from your garden had not been the harvest that you expected, you have an opportunity to weed up the garden, retool the soil, and replant. That is the joy of what we are talking about. Where you are at now does not and will not define where you're going. If you realize the principle of what goes in is what comes out. Therefore, to affect your environment, to affect the manifestation, what happens in your life, all we need to do is to go back to what happens in our mind. That, my dear friend, is the message. First within, then without. So now, let's begin to look at how we can now fix what is within. I'm sure you'll be interested in that. If what is within determines what manifests without, then it's a no-brainer that to change what is external, we need to retool internally. So the way the brain of a man works is that there are neural pathways in our brain that are formed by the habits that we have that leads to the emotions that we manifest, that develop over time. Not to bother us with the scientific names, synapses or whatever, is just to explain that every time you do something, it creates a neural path in your brain. And the more you repeat that thing, the stronger the neural path becomes. What we think, I had explained at the beginning, are so vital that they lead to our emotion, which leads to our actions. So that neural pathway, for us to begin to affect what is external with what is internal, we need to begin to reprogram our brains. And this is where the difficult lie. It is difficult because habits that had ossified over time requires a lot of dedication, painful work to begin to reverse what the brain has accepted and works by. Perhaps I should try and illustrate this way. If you had learned, for example, to ride a bicycle, maybe when you were a teenager or a young person, and for many years you had not, for whatever reason, ridden another bicycle, but now there is the need for you to ride a bicycle, maybe when you are now an adult, 30 or even in your middle age, what you will discover is that if you mount a bicycle after many years, the first few steps might be difficult, but if you persist and stay on the bike, most likely than not, you should be able to get a hang of riding again. What had happened? Because the neural pathways that you had created as a youth or a teenager in your brain come back to life. By the same token, by way of illustration, some of us drive from our place of work to our homes without thinking about it. Your mind might be on something else, and from work, you find that you got home without any accident or incident. Why? Because you had ridden that same path several times that it had become second nature to you. Now, if you understand that, then you will understand that beginning to affect your life by changing your thinking pattern, your emotions, and therefore your action, means that you have to unlearn what you had learned before. And this is where, like I said a few moments ago, you would encounter a little bit of challenge, surmountable but challenging scenario. Because now, new thinking needs to be inculcated. New emotion needs to be displayed. And new action needs to materialize. So if before now, something somebody says had caused an emotion of anger in you, and this had manifested in your taking action, such as maybe lashing out, whatever, the process of reorientation will require that the same thing is said by that same person or somebody else, but the way you react to it emotionally has to change. From anger, it now has to be another emotion, maybe compassion, maybe just ignore the person. But because you had always reacted angrily and lashed out, that will be your default mood. So I'm sure you will have heard people say that I had to catch myself, I had to stop myself, or something stopped me. I didn't react the way I would have reacted. That is a conscious effort to change your reaction to that external stimuli. And that is where to begin to affect what manifests externally in our minds. There was something I mentioned at the beginning of this series that I want us to go back to, which is the fact that every human mind had been cultured to believe that what is happening to us right now is the present. And what we remember as having happened before now is the past, and what we hope will happen tomorrow or the next moment is the future. Can I bust that bubble? That in actual fact, the things that happen now, which we think of as the present, the thing that had happened before now that we think of as the past, and the thing we hope to happen next that we conceive as the future have all actually happened. Now, it takes a reorientation of the mind, a suspension of what we understand as reality to appreciate that. Have you heard of the principles of quantum reality? What this means is that matter already exists in every form in which it can exist. But depending on the level of your consciousness, you might not be able to understand that everything is able to exist now until you change your orientation. I had said to you that the human mind is segmented into the conscious and subconscious. I had explained to you the conscious, the real you, the now, and the subconscious, the deeper you. Now, to understand what I am explaining to you now, quantum reality, I would like to dwell on the subconscious mind. Now, the subconscious mind is regarded as the creative mind of man, where you are able to create the reality that you want in your life. Some people even refer to it as the female part of the human mind, just so because it is the creative part, woman, birth, childbirth, and all that. So the subconscious mind is regarded as the female part of the man's mind. The creative part of the man's mind is the way I would rather put it. An interesting thing about our subconscious mind is that it cannot differentiate between what is real and what is not real. I'll repeat that for emphasis. The subconscious mind is unable to differentiate from what is real to us and what is not real to us. It cannot. It cannot differentiate because for the subconscious mind, every matter already exists. Everything already exists. Which is why it is in your subconscious mind that you can call those things that were not as if they already were. It is our subconscious mind, therefore, that helps us to change our reality into what we desire. The creative part of our mind, don't forget, is the unconscious mind. So how do we deploy this subconscious part of our mind to translate into matter for us? Don't forget that for the subconscious mind, matter is in that state, is already created. But how do we deploy it such that we bring that which already exists into our own realm of consciousness, into manifestation, as it were? The way that our subconscious mind translates what already exists as matter to the subconscious mind into our own quote and unquote reality is by our thoughts that we feel. Please note that. The thoughts that we feel. The thoughts that we feel. How so? If I say you should mark it, that the thoughts that we feel, it follows therefore that not all our thoughts are felt. Does it not? Okay, so how do you feel your thoughts? It's an 11-letter word. Imagination. It is by imagination that a human being can feel his or her thoughts. What is our imagination? Imagination is the act of forming new concepts, new ideas, new images of objects not currently present to the human sense. So when you say that you are exercising your imagination, what you should be doing is to begin to form new ideas, new concepts, new images of things that do not now currently exist. So when I say that we need to feel our thoughts, what I mean is that we need to begin to imagine those things that we would rather in our thoughts that are not now there, by visualizing them, by seeing them, by reacting as if they currently are there. When we deploy our imagination, what we want, that thing that we desire, will filter into our subconscious creative part of our mind and find expression as matter. It will transform into the physical reality, because like I said, in the realm of quantum matter, these things already exist. So it is our imagination that will allow the things that we think in our subconscious mind become visible to us. By deploying our imagination, we begin to bring into reality our reality that already exists in the realm of matter, or like some people would say, in the realm of the spirit. I would like to reiterate for emphasis that it is only in the realm of the man's senses of perception that we have the past, the present, and the future. Everything that is, was, and can ever be already exists. Therefore, for you to transform your present reality to what you desire, the creative part of your mind, the subconscious mind, must be ignited through new thought patterns, through feeling your thoughts, by imagination of bringing those things you want into existence, so that new neural paths in your brain can be formed to bring the reality you desire into existence. Now, it is my fervent hope that if you understand and internalize what I just showed you, there is going to be a paradigm shift in your mind, such that those who knew you before will begin to wonder where the new you has come from. All you need to tell them is that you have allowed your mind to be reoriented in such a way that you realize that everything you ever need has always been within your reach, but you just learned how to call those things that were not into existence as if they already were. Take good care of yourself. I hope you will share this with people so that they themselves will become a better version of who they currently are. Ciao.